traditionally, classes are, we go to a big lecture hall, there's a professor there doing derivations, doing problems on the board, and you sit there and take notes. When we go into class, it's really interesting because we read the material ahead of time and then we just hit the ground running, do some problems, ask questions straight away.
Well, most of this is nitrogen. So if I drew a line from there to there,
We'll have a good little mid-range. Your K value is usually a function of X, so it's like kind of cool.
H2O as a gas.
Yeah. Standard conditions.
Always.
Doing example problems in class and discussing all the concepts really helps enforce my understanding, and it motivates me more because I actually understand what's going on and what's being discussed, and the professor actually cares about you knowing the material instead of just preparing for the next test.
But I don't know which H values to plug in because I looked at the chart and it just said H, not F.
F plus the delta H,
Yeah.
and the delta H is...
It's different. It takes a little bit to get used to, but once you do, you don't want to go back. I've expressed multiple times after thermodynamics last semester, I want all of my classes to be like this. Because it's nice to be able to even experience something like that because I can make that judgment call and say, I do better in this environment. Meanwhile, some people never get that opportunity.
And what happens to all of these? This one cancels out. So once you get to this result, you have kilojoule per kilomole. There are a lot of benefits for students and faculty for using the flipped classroom. One of the most important ones for the students is that they're actually engaging with the material when they're in class. So rather than be passively listening to me orate about engineering principles, they're actually taking those principles and applying them to a problem. So in terms of the science of learning, it's been shown that that's going to help them remember it better and use it better.
Oh, LHV, okay.
It's always
and I solved it and I found out how much error there was in that.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. Yeah.
Before you go into class, you read the material, you read the lecture notes, you take your notes, and then you take a preliminary quiz, like this is what you should know going into class. Once you complete that, the problems are based on what you read. So you're actively working through the problems, you're using what you learned, and it really puts in perspective like how you are using what you have.
So if you set up the equation, how did you get 455?
Everyone else is also more motivated and more engaged because we're all able to work together.
The only thing that's going to affect it is whether you sleep or gas.
Yes, exactly. Let's make her proud, you guys.
And the most beneficial thing was how much I retained the information. Come exam time, I found myself not having to study that much. It was really nice.
What am I even trying to forget?
So the only time you cancel it out is if the reactants and the products are at the same temperature.
That was actually leading into another question where...
For me as an instructor, the best part about switching my classes from lecture style to flipped class is that I now have a chance to engage more with the students. So I know all of my students' names now, whereas if it was a lecture of 100 students, that wouldn't be the case. I now know which students struggle with what, and so I know how to help them. Sure, I had office hours before, but that was self-selecting because some students don't feel comfortable coming or are too busy to come. So this way, in class every day, I get to engage with all of the students in my class on a personal level. So that's the best part for me. And those relationships build, and then I can write better letters of recommendation, or I can provide good advice for that student if they're considering grad school, because then I know them better. So for me, the absolute best part is the relationships.